Smith, and I'm the Sexual Assault Response Coordinator, and I'm also part of the Resiliency team. And I want to welcome you to our first ever Resiliency Share the Spotlight video. And the aim of these videos is to really just help everyone here at the 138th have their voice be heard. And we want to talk all things resiliency. So just as a reminder, when we talk resiliency, we're not really talking about arriving somewhere, but resiliency is really more about the ability to push through adversity or challenges. And so today, for this quarter, we're going to be talking about how we build positive connections to one another, and how developing our support systems really helps us become resilient when we do face challenges. Dr. Davis, thank you for joining us. Welcome for this interview. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are here at the 138th and who you are when you're not here?
Here at the 138th, Sergeant Davis. You'll see my face a lot at the front desk in medical. I work in medical admin. I help process our paperwork to keep our members up to date in their records so that they're fully trained and deployable. When I'm not here, I have a whole bunch of students ranging from 8 to 10 years old, so everyone calls me either Miss Heather or Miss Batman because they know that that's my favorite character. And there's students that are in our special education program, so we get a lot of adaptability. We're kind of working on the fly. We do a lot of problem solving, but we kind of help to encourage them to have the best day they can possibly have at school, both socially and academically. And so you get a lot of funny stories, you get the sad stories, you get it all. But then you also get a lot of steps because you go to PE, art, and recess, and everywhere else. So that's pretty much how I spend my days when I'm not at drill, just helping out a lot of students.
Okay, so working in a school during a pandemic, right? So we're rounding out almost 12 months of social distancing, trying to manage this pandemic. It's been a lot of unpredictability for us. How do you feel like you're doing?
Personally, I'm not too bad. I'm kind of used to the mask, and just like everyone else, we're like, oh, we got more masks now, and I'm like, okay, well, dermatology appointment, book it, here you go. It is a little difficult with some students. We have some with younger siblings that are in the grades that are not required to wear a mask at school when they're in their own classrooms and everything, so we have to explain that. But most of the students are pretty cool about it. They'll either trade them or be like, can I get this one? Or oops, I forgot my mask. I'm like, just go to the office and get one. The admin assist has ones with stars this week. You're gonna be fine. So 3rd and 4th grade, most of the time they're pretty good about it. I do say a lot more, hey, cover your nose, and it doesn't work if you don't cover your nose too. And it used to be just like, hey, slow down. And I'm like, no, cover your nose, cough in your elbow. But they get used to it. So then they'll go around and tell each other. It's kind of hilarious when they do it. I'm like, yes, go do my job. Go do it.
Okay, so it sounds like there's definitely been some challenges and some changes going on kind of in the work environment.
There is, here and there, and we can't do a lot of the musical instrument work we used to do because you can't sanitize everything in between classes. So we've adapted and just worked on things we can do as individuals in class. But for the most part, kids are like, oh, I get my own Lego set now, I get my own little thing of Play-Doh, and we actually make jobs for them too, where it's like, you're the sanitizer this week, you're the desk monitor, make sure everyone wipes down their desk and things like this. So they're not as stressed about it, and we're still getting the job done.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about social relationships. So one thing that we know for sure is people need people. So as humans, we're designed to be in relationship with one another, and when we're not, we kind of fail to thrive, right? That we need a support system. So can you tell me a little bit on a personal level how the challenges of social distancing has kind of impacted your ability to feel connected to others?
I will say it took a while before I felt that impact of not being connected, just because I am primarily introverted.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully we do live in an age of technology, and I'm like, hey, I can stay at home in my pajamas and I can just call this friend or video chat another friend. And it was weird not having a schedule, being that work shut down and everything else just kind of instantly we had to pivot, and we weren't really ready for it. Mm-hmm. And then personally at our house, because I live at home with Dad, we had a death in the family earlier this year in January. So trying to help him but not be too close, because he is in that age category where he's a higher risk. I'm like, okay, well, we can't really go out and do the things you want to do either, Dad, and I can't really provide you a distraction or help you because I'm over here. that was a little challenging. He has done a better job with our help, I and my sisters, using technology, texting, and getting better at that. And actually, it's kind of, I don't want to say forced, but driven. My friends, my coworkers, and I a lot. Like, we're paying a little more attention to what each other employee or friend or coworker likes at work. Like, I just got a text the other day when my friend was like, "Hey, turn on ESPN. You like that axe throwing thing now, and there's a competition on." I was like, I didn't even know that existed. So it's little things like that we're starting to pay, I think, a bit more attention now that we had to.
Yeah.
Whereas before, we just kind of took it for granted. We're like, oh, well, this person likes this. Okay, well, whatever. They probably saw it.
Yeah.
So it's been a mix mash. The technology has just been really helpful for us personally and my family, being that we all live a little bit apart, except for Dad and I at home. But other than that, for me personally, it hasn't changed too much. Mm-hmm. But we find new things to do online. We're working on doing online little parties and activities, my niece and nephew and I. So it's learning day by day how to adapt, really, is the biggest thing. And so that's pretty much it for us. I did get a little antsy about the libraries being closed for a while. That's one of our because I'm in quarantine and I can't go get books either. Great.
So yeah, it sounds like at home some of the challenges were with having somebody who's vulnerable and having lost. I'm really sorry to hear that. Trying to manage those risks, like how to make good decisions, right? But that technology really helped you kind of adapt and help support everyone to get their needs met, even though you couldn't do that face to face, which you probably would have done previously.
It would have been more just, it's like second nature, like go into the living room and hang out with Dad or anything. But I'm like, I've been at school with children, and like, Dad had to quit his job. His doctors literally told him, you can't go, or else because you're high risk, or you really could get this and it could kill you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, sorry, Dad, even your own child can't be near you because I work with children and the germs.
Yeah, and it sounds like adaptability. So that's something I wanted to ask you about was, we have these challenges that we're all facing. They're all a little bit different, but we are having them. How have you managed to adapt? And I love that you already shared when you were talking about the challenges around them, that you've adapted to where you're using more technology, even with your friendship groups, but also that adaptation has helped you maybe have better quality relationship with some of your coworkers?
It has a lot of bits. When you take away all the options that I would normally take for granted, I was like, oh, I could just go to this museum, I could go here, I could just do what I want in a time frame. And now all of a sudden it's like, wait, this is closed. I can't go do this. What am I left with? So I honestly think it helped to redirect personally my focus. And I would get lost down the YouTube rabbit hole and find all sorts of crazy videos and be like, Dad and Aaron, my sister, was like, did you guys know about this? And they're like, okay, stop getting on the computer. But I'm like, no, learning things. And you have to be able, and I think this, when you're limited with what you have, it's like, where are you going to spend your energy? Yeah, there were a lot of days where I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be lazy bum, I'm sleeping until noon, 1 o'clock, whatever. But then there'd be days where I'm like, okay, I need to get this done, and I need to get this done. If I don't move, I'm going to be just a sad sack, sitting around watching nothing useful. But finding that balance and mixing it, because I wasn't going to have something to do every day, but you have to, it's like experiencing both, and I think it makes you value both. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my coworkers are like, yeah, I couldn't get anything done. I was like, I slept. My body needed rest. Apparently I needed it,
Yeah, so allowing yourself to have a slow day and then being able to then pick yourself up the next day. And it sounds like you actually were able to have some fun in that too. So I'm really glad to hear that. So I want to ask you, if you had one piece of advice that you could have given yourself at the beginning of 2020 to help you just cope with all the challenges and the changes that the year brought for us, and to help you stay connected, what piece of advice would that be?
For me personally, I would have said to myself to be a little bit more consistent and connectivity, not waiting till like, oh my goodness, I'm panicky, or I really haven't experienced this connectivity in a while, why do I feel anxious? Keeping it a bit more regular. Like basically doing like an online date. It's like, or like, hey, let's have, an online sister time or something like that. If I consistently did it, I don't think there would have been those moments where it's like, oh my goodness, I've been alone for so long.
Yeah.
And I think that would have probably helped a bit better.
So yeah, I love that. So it's about, I think sometimes we spend more time with certain people that we're close to than we realize. So
Right.
for example, in the work center, we might see a coworker every single day, even though we wouldn't say we had a close relationship with them. But once that was withdrawn, we had to be, I think part of what you're saying is being more intentional about that relationship, so that when you did need help, it was already there.
Yeah, intentional and kind of setting up, like you said, I have coworkers I see every day, and then all of a sudden I didn't. And it took a little while, and I'm like, wait a second, there's something that I'm not seeing every day or not hearing about. And I was like, oh, I don't know how this teacher is doing, or like what's happening in their class. I pass by their class every day, several times a day even. And so I have that background awareness, but then also I was aware that I didn't have that.
Yeah. So just valuing the interactions that you are able to have.
Indeed.
That's great. So, and then the last thing that I want to ask you is there anything else that you want to just let everybody know? Any piece of advice? Anything at all?
And I would say it's okay to accept having those slower days and realizing you don't have to be the productive one all the time. Yes, it's going to look like everyone on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. I don't know about Instagram. I don't have it. I refuse to get Instagram and TikTok and Snap, and for all those reasons, I'm like, I have enough. I don't need any more. But it's okay if everyone looks really busy and you're not. Because I guarantee you that your friends, your family, they're going to have those days where they're not busy and you're going to look like you're the most productive person in the world. And it's okay. I'm perfectly fine being like, I binge watched all of season 4 of Big Mouth in 2 days. I'm okay with that. But I also, I went to the gym and I could pull star, I did my laundry, things like that. And take in the humor. My social group at work, I am the meme distributor. They look at my Facebook profile and they're like, okay, she's got the memes today, we're good. So, and that's also how they know that I'm functioning all right, because I'm doing my usual behavior. So it's all those little things there. Just allow it. Be okay with it, and know that it's not permanent. It's not going to be a permanent thing that you're going to have the lazy days every day. You're also not going to be productive every day either.
Yeah, I love that. I love that advice. Thank you for sharing all your insights with us today and making the time to talk to us about resiliency and how you've been dealing with this last year. So.